Hello everyone, Joseph Hadid here for Worldwide Sport Updates, your podcast, your news, your local community, and let's recap the long week that we just had. First and foremost, let's start off with some NBA news. NBA trade deadline is final. Winners and losers from the Sixers to the Lakers. James Harden gets the chance to escape the drama of a super team he created but clearly wasn't ready for. Rather than shoulder the load while Kevin Durant recovers from another injury and Kyrie Irving gives part-time work a shot, he lands on a team run by the architect of his greatest season, Daryl Morey, with an MVP candidate to feed down low. The Sixers gets a point guard who should work a heck of a lot better for them than Simmons did. Maybe the biggest surprise of the whole Simmons saga is that he's the one who broke up with the Sixers at a greatest expense. Not the other way around. Finally, the Sixers get a guard who could take some out of the scoring load off of Joel Embiid. How Harden and Embiid mesh may be the biggest question mark here. But Embiid is so good in so many ways, it's hard to see that not working well. Ben Simmons gets the chance to escape one of the most toxic player-team city relationships in recent memory. Now he joins a team that doesn't need him to be more than what he already is. Every year, Philadelphia hoped the season had arrived when Simmons would give scoring outside the paint a shot, and every year he stayed in his well-radiated comfort zone to the very public frustration of his own team. He can blame Simmons all you want for pulling the rip cord, but he was unhappy for a reason. The Nets get a player who fixes their biggest weaknesses. For all the talk of Simmons' limits, it's worth remembering he is legitimately incredible on defense and remains a great facilitator on offense. On a team with Durant, Irving, Joe Harris, and Seth Curry, the Nets are not going to mind adding a defensive player of the year candidate who can guard 1-5 and would rather pass than shoot in exchange for a player who didn't want to be there. John Wall's contract. Simmons got what he wanted. John Wall, not so much. It's not hard to figure out why. Start with the player who's undeniably talented, but getting older with legitimate injury concerns give him arguably the most untradeable contract in the NBA. Having him demand a trade anyway and agree to stop playing until that materializes, put him on a team that is actively incentivized to lose games, which is helped when its 44 million player declines to play. It shouldn't surprise anyone that Wall is still a Rocket. Now he's looking at another lost season, and we don't know how many seasons he realistically has left. The Blazers' dignity. Things are understandably dire in Portland right now. Damian Lillard is still out for a while. He doesn't have much reason to return to the court even when healthy. That was all the reason interim general manager Joe Crockton needed to dismantle the core that took the team to the Western Conference Finals in 2020. Trading away good players like Norman Powell and CJ McCollum isn't bad in itself, but the team's return was uninspiring. Powell, for whom the team gave up Gary Trent Jr. and Rodney Hood, and Robert Covington, for whom the team gave up 2 first-round picks returned. A past his prime Eric Bledsoe, minor role player Justice Winslow, Project Keon Johnson, and a second round pick. McCollum and Larry Lance Jr. returned. Josh Hart, Nickel Alexander Walker, who was then flipped to the Utah Jazz. Some other players and draft pick. The Blazers' priority at this point seems to be to make the team as cheap as possible. But you have to wonder if that was at the cost of a better supporting cast for Lillard in the future. So, for Kristaps Porzingis, it has come to this for the star professional athlete. The Washington Wizards, the Dallas Mavericks pulled the plug on the idea of Porzingis ever becoming the Dirk Nowitzki to Luka Doncic, Steve Nash. And now that Latavian is just another lottery ticket for a team that just lost Bradley Beal for the season. Let's quickly move over to some NFL news. Aaron Rodgers wins his 4th MVP, says he has not made a decision yet on his future. On July 26th, there was a report that Aaron Rodgers planned to play the 2021 season for the Green Bay Packers. On July 27th, Rodgers reported for training camp. For the 3 months before that, he had no idea if Rodgers and the Packers' career was over. People wondered if he'd instead host Jeopardy. There were reports on draft day that the Denver Broncos were close to landing him in a trade. That deal never happened. But after Rodgers indicated in the spring that he didn't want to be in Green Bay anymore, it seemed if Rodgers won a second straight MVP and would be with another team, or he'd be reading daily double questions on your TV. After Rodgers reported to the Packers, he did what he usually does, and that's play at the highest level of the sport. On Thursday at the annual NFL Honors Show, Rodgers was announced as the NFL MVP. That is his 4th MVP, second most all-time, and behind him is Peyton Manning, who announced him as the winner on stage. Holds the record with 5 MVP awards, especially back-to-back seasons. The NFL is begging the U.S. richest African American to buy the Denver Broncos. The National Football League is practically appealing to Robert F. Smith, the nation's richest African American, to buy the Denver Broncos. But thus far, he has shown a reluctance to bid, and sources told the Post Smith, a New York-based private equity tycoon who famously spent $34 million in 2019 to pay off the student loans of the entire graduating class of Morehouse College. It is a Denver native and would become the first African American owner of an NFL team if he purchased the Denver Broncos. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell is pulling out all the stops to woo Smith, even as the team is rumored to have gained interest from Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, as well as quarterback legends Peyton Manning and John Elway, sources said. That's because Goodell is scrambling to repair the league's banged-up image when it comes to race relations. Let's move on to some Major League Baseball news, ladies and gentlemen. Former Major League Baseball player Giambi dies in California at the age of 47. Giambi, a former Major League outfielder and first baseman who was a key figure on the successful Oakland Athletics team in the early 2020s, in the early 2000s, died at his parents' home in Southern California on Wednesday. According to a statement from his agent, Joel Wolf, Giambi was 47. Officers responding around 11:30 a.m. Pacific time to reports of a medical emergency found Giambi dead at his parents' home in Claremont, east of Los Angeles. Police. Robert Ewing told the Associated Press the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office will determine the cause of death. Ewing said, Wolfe said, the family requested that we all respect their privacy during this difficult time. Giambi played 6 seasons in the majors, including with his older brother, 5-time All-Star Jason Giambi, on the A's in 2000 and 2001 season. Major League Baseball Universal Designated Hitter appears on the way. The Universal Designated Hitters are very likely will become Major League Baseball doctrine for the 2022 and beyond. Yet, that bridging of the game's long-standing league divide didn't magically become official on Thursday. With this new collective bargaining agreement, as in any contract, nothing is done until everything is done. Robert Medford set off on a social media storm Thursday when kicking off his owners' meeting news conferences. He said, "We've agreed to a universal designated hitter." One of many examples he offered of the owners' attempts to find common ground. What that means, and what has been reported for many months, is the owner's proposal, which will be tweaked on Saturday when the players and owners meet again in Manhattan. Currently features a universal designated hitter, and almost certainly will stay there. All the more so since, at this point, most National League owners would prioritize protecting their most prized assets, their pitchers, from the perils of hitting and running the bases, overspending a few extra bucks for another bat. Let's move on to some NHL news. The Flames responded and kept responding for the rest of the period, scoring 4 goals before it was done. And that is all for this week. I'll see you on our Sunday's podcast Super Bowl edition. Till then, enjoy your weekend and hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel Worldwide Sport Updates by Joseph Hadid for all the updates and sports that you need to know. This is Joseph Hadid for Worldwide Sport Updates, your podcast, your news, your local community. Have a great weekend again, and I'll see you on Sunday.